Let's escape.
Number 9, London.
It's a pretty good movie, and I've never heard of that rule, but makes sense. And do people eat swans? I guess people eat everything, which is crazy to me, but a lot of weird things people eat out there, but maybe that's more normal. I don't know. Hello and welcome back. Today, I wasn't even going to do this video, and I just saw it, and it seemed kind of interesting because I don't even know the lies, but the video title is, what I'm reacting to is, Top 10 Lies You Believe About Britain. So I'm curious to see, what lies do I even believe about Britain? What things do I believe about Britain that are not true, I guess, because it's kind of a funky title. This is by Watch Mojo, and as you could tell, this is a little snippet into what we will be watching. Number 10, all swans are property of the Queen. I mean, I don't think I believe that right off the bat, but you never know. Different country, different rules, old school rules, who knows? So let's just jump in. Let's see what the top 10 are and add anything you can, or maybe there's other rules that you think Americans believe. I want to hear it, so let's see what this is all about.
All swans are property of the Queen. We've all been brought up to believe that all swans belong to the Queen, and therefore harming them or eating them is a big no-no. However, one 5-year-old swan enthusiast wrote to the Queen asking if she could have one, and the response she got surprised us all. A representative wrote back debunking the common misconception that seems to date back to the 12th century. The monarch actually only owns all unmarked mute swans in open water around certain areas of the River Thames and Windsor. Every year, local children are invited to witness the swan-upping event, which helps keep track of the birds.
Let's escape.
Number 9, London.
It's a pretty good movie, and I've never heard of that rule, but makes sense. And do people eat swans? I guess people eat everything, which is crazy to me, but a lot of weird things people eat out there, but maybe that's more normal. I don't know.
And it's buried under fog. Fog everywhere. So begins Charles Dickens' Bleak House, and yet somehow the reputation has stuck even to this day. Due to the Industrial Revolution during the 19th century,
yes.
Londoners did see an average of 63 foggy days per year, and in 1952, the Great Smog was said to have killed around 12,000 people.
Smoke from the capital's chimneys is being trapped at street level, which is aggravating the fog.
Nowadays, you'll actually find that London, or anywhere else in the UK really, doesn't even cut the top 10 foggiest countries around the world, with Grand Banks, Newfoundland, Canada taking the top spot. Once coal fires were banned, London saw less fog, and today it's not as common as you would think.
No, when I was there was zero fog, but I was also there in October, so I don't know how much fog is there in October.
Great! Lady Godiva rode naked on horseback. Lady Godiva wasn't just a made-up figure from a Tennyson poem or a delicious brand of chocolate. In Tennyson's versions of events, Lady Godiva rode naked on horseback through the streets of Coventry in response to her husband Leofric's oppressive tax. In reality, there are some sources that suggest that her lord husband requested she do just that, but there is insufficient proof that she followed through, with most historians insisting that it never happened. This story only started making the rounds around 100 years after her death, and by a monk whose storytelling didn't always adhere to the truth. Number 7, Great Britain, the UK, and England are synonyms.
For England, James? No. For me.
Also a good movie. I want to go over Bonds. I talked about in one of my previous videos of, I think I was watching the Queen and James Bond at the 2012 Olympics jumping out of a helicopter and kind of entering the Olympic Stadium, and I mentioned it in that video. But yeah, I should go over one with Bonds because I grew up watching them and I love them. I love them.
Getting this wrong is a surefire way to make enemies across the UK. Just try asking a Scot what part of England they're from. Go ahead, we dare ya. Great Britain is an island made up of England, Scotland, and Wales. Great Britain and Northern Ireland together make up the United Kingdom. Emphasis on the Northern, yes, that's another border you don't want to mix up. We'd also tell you about the Channel Islands, British Isles, Isle of Man, and so on, but we suggest you get your head around the basics first, and then we can talk. Number 6, you're never far from a rat in London. Another stereotype of England's capital is that you're never more than 6 feet away from a rat at any given time.
It's a little extreme. It is a little extreme. That's also a little extreme.
London is approximately 1,572 kilometers squared, and there are around 10.5 million rats in the UK. You do the maths. It's possible that a former Minister of Agriculture invented this little rumour to promote hygiene in homes, which makes you wonder just how bad things must have been. According to Dr. Dave Cowan, the truth is that you're more likely to be around 50 meters away from a rat at any time. Sounds a lot less disgusting now, right?
When I was there, in London specifically, I did not see one rat. Nothing came out. I mean, in most cities, I don't see a rat. I'd assume we would see more rats in LA or New York.
Number 5, Richard III was a bad guy. Chances are, if you grew up in the UK, you were taught about the villainous Richard III, who walked around with a limp and had a hunchback. History tells us that he was this terrible geezer who stole the throne from his brother, locked his nephews in a tower, and ultimately had them killed. But in reality, when his reign came to an end, the Tudor dynasty took the throne. And let's just say that historians decided to record things a little differently. Shakespeare may have played his part in this retelling of events too. There's taking creative license, and then there's completely rewriting history.
A horse! My kingdom for a horse!
Number 4, Big Ben is a clock.
No, it's not. Big Ben, which I'll spoil this right now because I was excited to hear, is the actual bell within. It's Elizabeth Tower? Is that what it's called? Elizabeth Tower is the actual Big Ben that we see, but the Big Ben is the bell that we hear. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll just embarrass myself right now. I don't know. I think that's right.
One of the most iconic features of the London skyline has been dubbed Big Ben by tourists and locals alike, but it wasn't always called that. In the Victorian era, it was called St. Stephen's Tower, and until recently, it was just named the Clock Tower, and you really can't go wrong with that. However, today its official name is the Elizabeth Tower, in celebration of the Queen's Diamond Jubilee in 2012. But as interesting as this is, it's all superfluous for the discussion at hand. That's because Big Ben is the nickname of the bell, not the tower that houses it.
There it is. Big Ben at work.
Number 3, the Great...
And when I was there in 2018, it was all, you know, they're working on it. Construction everywhere around it. Couldn't even really see it. I have a picture of, you just see kind of where the clock is. The glass right there, whatever it's made out of. You just saw scaffolding all over the tower and just the clock part. The little clock sticking out that's not even moving. I don't even think it had the hands on it right there, but that should be opening soon too, right? I think I saved that to do. They did construction. It was like kind of behind the scenes of what it's looking like, what they're doing. I think that's kind of a reaction that I saved to do, and I have not done it yet. I'm gonna look for that right after this.
Great Fire of London ended the plague. When you learned about the Black Plague at school, it was almost always immediately followed by a lesson about the Great Fire of London, because it was said that this fire, that devastated London, actually brought an end to the plague, right? Well, no, not really.
Why would
the fire only burned up about a quarter of urban London, with the worst areas affected by plague, Whitechapel, Clerkenwell, and Southwark getting through it with barely a singe. By the time the fire started, deaths from plague were already on the decline, but once the fire was over, it was still not extinct. Number 2, the royal family always lives in Buckingham Palace.
We know that's not true either.
Crowds swarm Buckingham Palace every year in the hope of seeing the changing of the guards, or better yet, a member of the royal family leaving the palace to run some royal errands. The only problem is, none of the royal family live full-time in Buckingham Palace. It's more like the Queen's office and a nice venue for special events.
I said it very heavy.
Yes.
People also mistakenly look out for the Union Jack to know if the Queen is in. but it's actually a different flag, the Royal Standard, that's flown at the royal residences Buckingham Palace, Windsor Castle, or Sandringham House when she's present.
And isn't the Union Jack that they're showing, I think, you know, on top of Buckingham Palace right there, isn't it? I've heard it's the Union flag. It's not the Union Jack, the Jack part, unless it's on a vessel, a sea vessel, a ship. Is that true? Because that's what I heard. And if so, they're wrong right here.
Number
I'm
1,
learning,
the
maybe.
Queen is all-powerful. The job description of monarch has changed since the days of Henry VIII, but the Queen still does have a number of powers, and it's not all about travelling the world and waving politely. But in today's British Constitution, she has ministers who are entrusted with exercising her powers. The Queen can summon Parliament, sign
Wow.
bills into laws, appoint or remove ministers, appoint the Prime Minister, and declare war, just to name a few.
Oh, really? Please.
Boo.
A lot of these motions are ceremonial, but it's good to know that if we were ever on the verge of war, the Queen has the power to pull that plug. Do you agree with our picks?
I do agree. I mean, a lot of them, thankfully, because I started to learn about this with everyone else. I mean, mainly I watched the videos. I've reacted to many videos of all around, you know, the UK and some of Europe and stuff. But that is kind of teaching me a lot of these, or a few of them were kind of just incorrect in general. At least I corrected them before they said, I don't know, one of those. So it's interesting to see. I'm happy for myself and you guys for telling me all these things, because I learned from the videos a lot, but then I get a more in-depth conversations and learn more from reading the comments, which help greatly. And that's how I learned about kind of like more of these little things around. But that was a good video. I liked it. I'm sure there's more, especially that Americans think are true that are just definitely not true. Overall, I enjoyed it though. Let me know if there's anything else that I may have missed. 10 lies or 10 things that other countries, it could be even in Europe what they believe, or in the US what we believe, or what you think we believe, and they're just wrong. I would love to hear that, and maybe I'm thinking the wrong thing as well. So thanks for joining, and until next time, keep on watching, keep on learning, and have a good rest of your day.